Hello everyone, this is Quentin Figueroa.
And I'm Jesse.
And we are here again with ILA University to be giving you Lesson 4, which is actually going to be a review of the first 3 lessons so far. So we're going to be reviewing the domain, the setup with the hosting. We're going to talk about FTP, a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, and that type of thing.
So hopefully you guys are catching on. I was confused for a little bit, but now I think I am getting there.
So enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. This is Quentin Figueroa, and I'm here with
Jesse Gonzalez.
And we're going to recap what we've learned the last 3 lessons. So I know I've kind of been going a little quick, and Jesse got a little bit lost. So hopefully we're going to reconcile these problems.
I'm not lost. You just have to keep in mind that you're teaching a new person to do the stuff that you've been doing for almost 8, 10, 12 years.
So we're going to do a recap. So let's, I guess, start let's start at the beginning.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to need to deal with the domain name aspect. So the way that works is usually when you sign up, like you'll go to like hostgator.com, and then you would come in here, you would sign up, go through it. They would email you back a way to log into your website, right?
Correct, yes.
So they're going to email you back something like this. Okay, they're going to email you back a page that you would go to, kind of like this. And then in this page, you're gonna have a username and password to log into. So you'll log in.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you will have a page like this maybe, but it depends. They might already have it created for you, which is actually on a shared hosting that usually is the case. So usually they've already would have set up something like this. So say your domain name was demo.ilauniversity. On the hosting end, they're going to have a screen like this. They're going to already set you something up, and all they're going to say is, okay, for you to access and log in, they're going to send you an email. And in that email, it's basically going to say something like this. Okay, your FTP is this. Your username is this. And then your password is this. And so you're basically going to get a welcome email giving you this information. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It's just like your typical registering for something.
Yeah. So this is all you're really going to need. So now once you have this information from your host, so you're going to need an FTP program. And another thing to keep in mind, so you're going to make sure that this points to the right IP, and the host will actually usually give you an IP also. I should have showed you that. So that they'll say like, okay, your IP is this. Okay, so you'll get these things pretty much. And then you'll be able to FTP either directly with your IP, or you can make your domain name point to the IP. Does that make sense?
Go show me that one more time.
Yeah. So they'll usually give you this information. Like that. Sorry, okay. I skipped ahead. So you'll have this. And in order to access... So we're going to need to FTP, first of all. So if I were to go to Google and search like FTP program, because you're going to need an FTP program to upload files. Does that make sense?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you can see here the first result, FileZilla. This one's the most popular. A lot of people use it. It's a good one. I like to use this one, WinSCP, but it really doesn't matter what you use. So you go to one of them, you'd click download, and then you would just straight up download it. So here we got, let's see.
Okay, what did you download? I didn't see you press anything. So what was it that you downloaded? The file that they sent you?
Yeah, so you see I'm on their website.
Okay.
And I mean, just on their website, you go to download. So here, download. And then they have right here, installation package, portable, it just depends. So you just...
I get that, but what are you downloading at this point?
So when I do that, I download this program right here.
Okay. Demo ILA University.
Well, it's called WinSCP, so it's this. I'm going to open it. And here it is. So this is a program I got. Now what you're going to do, if you go to new, for the host name, that's the actual address for your server. So you could put in the actual IP address. So you can see here.
Which is the one that Gator gave you.
Yeah, the host gives you. So here's this. And then I put in my password. So if I do it just like this, I can log in. So I'm going to log in. It's just going to, because I'm using, it's going to make sure it's a secure, connection, whatever. So I hit yes. Okay, so I can log in that way, right? And now I'm logged in. The only problem is if I go to my actual domain, like let's say demo.eliteuniversity, it's not going to come up because I need to tell the whoever I registered my domain name with, I need to point it to this IP. Does that make sense?
Okay. So yeah, so then you still have to tell WinEscape that you need to let them know, or
yeah, well,
or GoDaddy.
So whoever I got my domain name with,
Okay,
a lot of people
GoDaddy?
get it with GoDaddy. So I would then log in here to my GoDaddy account. And then what I would do, so you log in here, you go to your domains. So here, real quick, I'm going to get my domain. And then in here, you're going to want to go pull it up. So it's iliuniversity.com
Okay.
is my domain. So here it is. And then, so in here, you have the DNS manager, which stands for domain name servers. So if you launch that, it's going to open up your, and this is, any host has some type, or any domain name registrar has some type of DNS type thing, to where in here you need to edit it. So you can see here, the, so this at, see this at symbol, the host?
Correct.
That is if you go to your main domain, like iliuniversity.com. But since I have a subdomain that I created here called demo, so this one's for demo. This at is for the main just domain, the www.
Okay.
That kind of one.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And then in this case, actually, the IP that would have been assigned to me, because you can see it's already pointing, was the same as the one I showed you, except it ends in 215. So they would have actually emailed, sent an email that said this. Okay. And then, so that's the actual folder that I would be logging into. And then, yeah, so you can see here I have it set up now to where I actually added it, but if you wanted to add it, you would just do quick add. You'd type in the subdomain name, you'd put the IP in here, and then you could hit this to half hour, which I don't know what this is entirely, but I think it just makes it happen quicker. But anyway, you would do that and then hit save zone file, and then now you have another subdomain. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So that's how so now that points the domain to the server. So now you're pretty much all set up. So now if you go to, we don't need this anymore. So when you're back here, if I were to exit out of this, so now instead of using the IP, you can just use the actual domain name. So if I were to go new and I go demo. So remember last time I used the IP here? Here I can just use the domain since they're pretty much synonymous. They're the same thing. Demo. Okay. And then that gets us in also. So now once we're in, so you see all these files here, right?
Yes.
Do you know which folder we're going to want to use?
For what are we?
So to actually make something show up on the website, do you know which folder?
The public, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we'll use this one, public HTML. So this is where we're going to have all our files. You can see right here.
Which is what we've been using for the past 3 lessons.
Yeah, so I'm going to delete all this right now. So.
Why would you delete it?
Well, because we're going to start fresh, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're just recapping. So does that mean we're going to go from the beginning? Well, a recap is something that you do to recap.
Okay, we'll leave those. I was really close to deleting them, and that way they would have been gone forever.
Well, I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, okay. So let's delete this stuff real quick. Okay, so obviously, as you know, on this right side is the server. The left side is our computer, right? So we have these two things. Okay,
Our server being?
Our server being Well, mine is, I don't have it through HostGator, but it'd be like HostGator or, whoever, Rackspace.
Correct.
Okay. So we'll close this out now. Okay, so now once you have this set up, you could create an HTML file and put. So I'm on jsbin.com, right?
Correct.
And as you know, this site lets you quickly do HTML and kind of see what happens.
Correct.
So like, here is my page.
And then there's CSS, correct?
Yeah. So here's this right here, right? So here's my web page, what it would look like. So if I take the source code here.
Which is the source code, in this case, would be H1, correct?
All this, but not just H1. But see where it starts with.
Correct. But where you typed in, here is my page, that was after code H1,
That was H1.
which is put it to the output.
Yeah, but technically this stuff is all in the output also. You just don't see it.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I copied that. Now I'm going to create a new file. So let me just go here. Well, let's just go. Okay, so I'm going to use TextPad. It's a free text program. You can get it just by searching Google for TextPad. And then you will go to textpad.com.
Do you have to download?
Yeah, you just go to download, and then right here you can just download it. Boom. Or if you're Dutch,
Okay.
you can download.
Okay.
So there's that. So I'm going to paste that source code into my TextPad. You can see there it is. I will call this sample.html. Okay. And I'm going to make sure to save this in my temp. Let me see here. I'm going to save this in that temp folder. So sample.html. Like that, right?
Okay.
Okay. So now if I go here, you'll see I have sample.html.
Correct.
I'm going to upload this by dragging it over here. And now, if I go to demo.italyuniversity.com/sample.html, you're going to see the file that I uploaded, which is this, right? So that all makes sense, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And then you'll remember you can style this stuff with CSS, right? So here, to add CSS, generally in this head area.
Okay.
So you see how this meta and this title are both in head. Does that make sense? Because it starts here and it ends here.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So somewhere inside of there, like right here, see how I added a, let me just get this. Okay, see how like right here, delete that. So right here, you would put style, like so. Okay, style. And then inside of style, I can do CSS.
Which would be,
Like this. So color.
which is the numbers.
And then see
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
I remember that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's where you do your CSS.
And it was red, green, and blue, right?
Yeah. Yep. The first one is red.
And
then
then
green.
the second one is green and then blue. Cool.
Okay, so now we got that. There's other stuff too, like for instance some of the markup on here. So usually pages kind of do start out with an H1 type tag for a content area, and you would have under that you might have a paragraph, and you might have some text in there, and then you would end the paragraph like that. Let me just grab some fake text real quick. Lipsum.com.
Which, you just going for the text, right?
Yeah, this is just some fake text real quick.
And you can get text from anywhere, basically, right? But you just don't,
Yeah, anywhere.
okay, but
Just
you,
goes to mind real quick.
okay.
But you can see here when I paste it in, it's all still just one paragraph because I need to actually split up my paragraphs.
Yes.
P. But now, just to kind of show you too, well, here. Okay, so see how those are all split up now, like so. And then now again, I could come back in here.
Because in each one you added the P, right, for paragraph. Okay,
Exactly.
cool.
So again, in CSS, you can edit whatever tag it is. So the P tag, if I want to edit this now, and say I'm not happy with the spacing between them, say I want more of a margin between them, let's say. So watch, I could do margin bottom, let's say, and you could do something like 40 pixels. and then see how it spaced it more?
Yes.
Or I could do less spacing and say like margin bottom 0. And then you could just take margin out of everything and do margin 0 pixels and see how it doesn't have a margin now.
Correct. It put everything back together.
Right. So you can just kind of you could give it a side margin, like margin left, 10 pixels. See how 30 pixels, it's kind of spaces it.
Yes.
So you have control that way. You have things like line height. So I could give it like a 30 pixel line height. So you see how it's actually, you'll notice you see that?
Yes.
So you can make it really close together, stuff like that. You can, obviously change the font family to Arial or something like that. So it's a totally different font now. You can change the font size to something like 10 pixels. So it's kind of tiny. You can increase it to 20 pixels. So you have complete control over that type of thing.
Over everything, period.
Yeah, period. So you could even make it bold, font weight, bold. So now you see it's all bold. You could also make it italic, so font style italic. These are all just CSS type things. Like you could probably Google most common CSS, and then it'll probably tell you kind of some, maybe these are all looking like mistakes, which I just want to see most commonly used CSS code, which, let's see, most common CSS code, maybe commands. Hold on, just trying to, this one's probably a good one. This one might be good. So in here probably, now these are all more advanced ones because these are CSS version 3, and these are all kind of, no, those aren't common used ones, but this one might have some. Just trying to show you, like this one's used a lot, color. This one's used a lot, font family, font size is used a lot. So these are all common with.
Those are just the codes that are going after, in the middle, like after H1 and so forth, when you're breaking down the different areas and whatever you're creating, correct?
Yeah. So anyway, so you can see here, you can control it with CSS. Now, if you want to actually lay out a website, so that's a little bit different. Well, it's not different, but you're gonna usually use a div tag like this.
Yeah. Which stands for dividing a division, or
yeah, I think so, something like that. So let's see. Hold on, let me make sure. Div tag. Let's see what it's. Let's end this. So you got the div tag. Div tag defines a division or section. So I think it stands for division, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So, and you can see here how they're using it. Div, and then you have some stuff inside of it. And so let's move on. So div, we got this div tag, right? So
correct.
We could put a content here. So you have content in a div tag. You could have more content, so let's say I have 5 of these divs and then content in there, right?
Correct.
So now when you style them, so it'd be div like that. So I could go background red like so, and you'll notice it extends the full width.
So the command you're giving there is under style for the div, which is creating the body, correct?
Well, under style, I just gave this div.
Yeah, but the rest of what you're working on right now is the body. So if you want to give it style, you have to go up and then give it the command of div and then go from there.
That's correct. Yeah. So when I want to style my HTML, I do it through, like you said, the style area, and the actual HTML is done here. But in the HTML, you usually do not do the styling, although you can, but usually you don't.
You do it on CSS.
For instance, I could, if I didn't do it here, watch. I could, there's what's called so you notice this is a style tag, right?
Correct.
There's also an attribute called style. So if I were to do it like this, style, and then I could now do background red, but you'll see it will only do it for the one that I'm on. But do you see that?
Correct. Well, yeah, because you have 5.
Yeah.
You have 5 there, so you're doing it for the first one, which is self-explanatory. If you're doing it for that one, then it's going to come out only on the first one. But if you want to do it for the whole body content, then you go up to style and the div, right?
Yeah. Now let me show you a little bit more though. So you see how I basically hard coded it into this, which means it's not really dynamic. If I wanted to edit this, I pretty much have to edit it on this actual tag right here. But the better way to do something like this, say I only wanted the first one to have the red background, the better way to do that would be to use what's called a class. So you see there it's style, but if I were to replace that and put class, and then maybe I call this first. Now the better way is now this is part of the first class, and if I access that class with CSS up here, you'll see. So see I do dot and then the class name first, then I could also edit it that way, and it's a little bit more dynamic.
Well, yeah, it's dynamic, but why would you want both steps when you can do just one step?
Watch. Now, if I want this one to also be the same as first class, look. So now that one, I just put first. And see, they're both first, and now I can...
It's going to take the first command of first, right?
Well, yeah.
So the fourth one took the command of first.
I don't know why. I shouldn't even name it that. So I'm just going to give it the class box, right? So
okay.
It's called box. Okay. So it has nothing to do with order. It's just called box. They both share the same name.
Okay, but you distinguish through going in order, like you went with the first one and then you went with the fourth one.
Well, yeah, that doesn't matter.
Well, okay, then what's the purpose of doing this?
So here's the purpose. So you see here how these two both use this same name?
Correct.
If I just want to edit these two only, I can just edit these. And now you see how I'm changing stuff and it updates both of these. Rather than me having to do this code twice for each one, I just do it once. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. But what I'm trying to understand is, okay, what's the purpose? You did it on the first one and the fourth one, which I get. I'm taking a look at what you're doing right now, and I get it. But, okay, so then you commanded the first line and then you commanded the fourth line, and you said, but only those two will be doing it. Okay, what happens to the two in between, the second and the fourth?
Nothing.
And the third, I'm sorry.
Those ones just have the default, whatever default style they have, so they don't have anything. But it'd be like, for instance, if I had a list of something, like say,
I guess what I'm trying to say is, what's the purpose on doing this?
Yeah. So look, say I had a list of like, let me. Okay. So say here, I have a list of like names like Gary, and then watch. Okay, so let me just do like a few names here. Okay, so Gary, right? Susan, Joe, Jim, and Stacy. Okay, so I have 5 names, right?
Correct.
Now, if let's say the guys I want to only show a certain way, so I would give them a class, let's say guy, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then I'm giving the guys, which are Gary, Joe, and Jim, the class guy, right? And let's say I want guys to be displayed with a blue background. So see guy, background, and then I would just give it blue. So you see how the guys now are blue?
Yes, that is correct.
And then I would give the class girl to the girls. And then that's this way. Now, I want the girls to have like a different background. So I could give them like a, let's see if this works, pink. Oops, sorry.
Well, you put guy.
Yeah. Oops. So see how girls now have a pink background.
Correct. But, okay, so I asked you before, is this to distinguish certain things, or is that what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Like, something to be distinguished, that's what I asked you. Are you trying to distinguish the lines? So that's what you're trying to do at this point?
Yes, because obviously throughout your document you're going to have a lot of div tags, and you're going to need to at some point figure out how to. You don't want to do changes for every div tag in your document. You might have 200 divs, and if you say like div, black background, all your divs are going to be a black background, but you might only want one. So that one div or those few divs, you might give it a class like guy or a class, whatever makes sense.
Well, yeah, every div is going to get a class if you want to give it a class. But if you don't and you want to keep them all similar, then you wouldn't go through this process.
Right. But in most cases, you don't want them similar. So that's why most of the time when working with divs, you're going to be giving them classes and things like that.
On everything. For the most part.
Yes.
Okay.
But so just to show you some more stuff though. So I'm going to go back and just do this div again. So you can see I still have the classes, but I'm not accessing. I'm just accessing these. I'm going to access these through div. But so background, if I give them a red background again, so there's some things you can do. So you can change the width of something. So if I go width 50 pixels, you'll see now the width of each div is 50 pixels, right?
Correct.
Let me give these a margin, a bottom margin here of, let's say, 5 pixels. So you'll see now how they got it.
They're separated.
Yeah. So now, each one's 50. I could go maybe 100 pixels. Oops, sorry, that's 10. So 100 pixels, right?
Correct.
Now watch. There's also this command here called float. So I'm just going to show you here. So float left. Now watch what happens here. So do you see that?
Yeah, that's cool.
It kind of puts them
All together.
Yeah, it bumps each one to the left of it. So then you could also float right.
Which put him to the right.
And it's kind of now just to just show you. You'll see here you have Stacy as the last one and Gary as the first. But here it's now Stacy and then Gary. So you see how it kind of, when I float right, it starts with the first one, Gary, and it puts Gary here, then Susan, then Joe. You see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If I float left, it'll go the opposite. It'll start kind of more what you would expect. Gary, Susan, Joe. It goes boom, 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 like that, right?
Yes.
So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does, because it's still, showing Gary as the first one, but to the right, and then to the left, he's showing. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, cool. So now, if we're going to actually put together a website, you would use divs, and you would do it something like this. You would go div, and then you might call this one header. This would be the head section of your website. And then you might call this one, let's say, this one might be body or something like that. Let's say body div. Then you might have another one called sidebar, right? Footer. Okay, so this is kind of how somebody might choose to break up their website here.
Okay, which is what we did in lesson 3.
Right. So I'm going to add an image in here real quick now for the header, some type of logo, which you'll remember we had a logo that we uploaded.
Which was CNN.
Yeah, so it's located here. So just to show you, you can access that by using image tag and then source.
So that would be.
And then I could do here, http /
And then the demo Illy University.
/CNN dot, I think JPEG. So there's that.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then of course you started off with image img, and then src was for what? I'm sorry.
The source of that image.
The source of the image.
Now, I want to make that image a little smaller. I could in Photoshop or some program make it smaller.
But you're
I
working.
could do it with CSS.
Correct.
Ideally, you want to do it with Photoshop because this has the larger the image, the larger the file size, and you want to load kind of the highest resolution, lowest file size possible. So ideally, you'd want to use Photoshop, but you can also use CSS, and it's sometimes not a super big deal. But here, I'm just going to use CSS just to kind of show you.
Okay.
So anyway, so to target this, I could do just image and then do something like width 200 pixels, and then you see how it kind of bumps it down.
Correct.
But now the problem would be is if I put another image on here from who knows wherever else, like let me just grab another image. Cool image. So I'm going to pull up an image now.
You should have gone to peacebeblessed.com. They have real cool images.
Okay, so like if I were to grab this image right here, you'll see this is the actual full address for it, right? So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back over here. Now, let's say if that was part of my body, I would go image source equals like so, and then in there I would paste in, and then, but you know, you see here how it's 200 pixels? Do you know why?
No.
Because I have here in my style.
Okay, it was just 200.
Yeah.
So you, in other words, if you wanted to give that image a different image, you would have to change the pixels for that image only, right?
Right. So the better way to do this in this case then, because I only want this image in this header.
So it needs a different command.
Yeah. Do you know how I would do that? See how it has a class header?
Correct. And then you would do that. So then
So
you would actually do the image thing with the other picture. So you would do the IMG, add another one, SRC equals, and then the address.
Well, no, watch. So I just want to target. Right now I'm targeting with this CSS code, the IMG.
Correct.
I'm targeting all images in the document.
Okay, that is...
I want to only target the one that's inside of this header class div.
Which is...
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so to do that, you type in the class name, header, and then now it's only targeting the one in the header div. Does that make sense?
Yeah, which is the CNN one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If I wanted to target this other one,
Then you would have to put...
see how it's in this class?
Correct.
So then if I wanted to target that one, I would put body.
Okay.
And then you see?
Yeah, because one was header and the other one was body. So then CNN would be the header one, and then the picture with the guy playing the guitar would be the body.
Yeah.
So then you would have to go in there and change the pixels for both, right? If you wanted a different size.
Yeah, say I wanted to change the body one now, I could go body, IMG,
G.
and then I could do something like, with, let's say, 1,000 pixels. And then you see, boom.
Yeah.
But now another thing to note, I could do it that way, or in here I could give it a class of its own. Class equals, let's say full. Okay, so this one has the full class, and maybe this one has the small class.
Which is going to make it smaller and bigger.
Well, so I can just access it. So you see how right now I'm accessing it header IMG for the CNN. I could also access this CNN now just by the class name small. So I could just change this to small, and now that's being accessed that way. And I could change this full. So anything with the full class now, I could say with 100 pixels.
Well, yeah, and that's because you changed, you put small for the CNN header, and then for the body you changed it to full. Yes. So then it's gonna give it that command that you give.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So, but let me ask you one thing: what would be the purpose of doing that if you can eliminate a step right there?
Yeah, it just depends. It's just to show you the flexibility you have, but in general you probably wouldn't want to do that way. In general, you want to use the least amount of code possible.
Correct. And that's cool though, because then you know other ways of how to do this, which is
so there you go. So that's that, and you can see now I deleted the classes small and full, and now these just they're back to normal because nothing's controlling them anymore.
Mr. Figueroa, you are a good teacher. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so back to getting this. So what would I do to make this CNN logo smaller?
You would actually put IMG and SRC.
No. Just with the CSS. So look, with 200 pixels, right? Yeah. But now I got this other one. How do I fix it to where I only hit CNN?
You're going to go actually give it a command, which is on the header. Okay. So on the header there, you're going to make it either small or full, right?
No, you don't need to do that. That was just to show you. So I just need to target this through whichever part it's part of. See how it's inside of?
Okay, so then you're going to add header.
Yes, because you see how it's wrapped inside of this tag?
Correct, yes.
It starts here and it ends here, and this is inside of it. So anything inside of a class there, you can hit this way. So you target it like header image.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I got it. Well, yeah, I said header.
Okay, so say I want to now target this one in the body. What would I do? If I want to change this image and make it maybe 100 pixels tall, what would I do?
Okay, so then you would target the body.
Okay, so body and then what?
And then IMG.
Okay,
And then
to make it the height 100 pixels.
Okay, the height.
The height.
So then you would put height.
Okay.
And then you would put 100 px, and then in between, and there you go.
Yep.
So then let me ask you.
Oh, yeah, you can ask that. So,
Well, I don't.
what are these things called?
Correct.
They're curly brackets, I think.
Curly brackets? Okay.
Like the regular bracket, but just
Well, I understand. I know what they are. I use them a lot, but I just never knew the name of it.
I think so. Curly bracket. Is that how you spell?
No.
That's not how you spell.
C.
Curly.
No.
Curly bracket.
CKETT. Oh, wow.
So yeah, curly brackets. That's what they're called.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so here we are. Okay, so now you kind of got that stuff kind of.
Correct.
Okay, let's recap a little bit links.
Okay.
Okay, so links, actually making something take you somewhere. So watch. So let's create another div called nav. Okay, so generally you want to do a navigation, and you want to do it. A lot of times you'll put a navigation in an unordered list. I think you'll remember this. We talked about this a little bit before. So you would say like, so this might be a homepage link.
Correct, and then you put the body, the footer.
So anyway, so let's say that's homepage. To do a link, it's an A tag. It stands for anchor. So A, so it'd be like this, A, and then now the destination of where you want the link to go when you click it is called, and it's href. So you know how on the image you type src, on this one you type ahref, like that, href. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it stands for. Probably like hyperlink referrer. Let me see. href. Let's see what this stands for. Href attribute. It doesn't even tell you what it stands for.
Wow.
What? Okay, hold on. What does href stand for? Why not URL link or even just ref? I found something in the attribute specifies the location of that.
Okay, so then we should skip what it means or stands for.
So let's just screw it. This is just me wasting my time. Oh, hypertext reference. There.
Hypertext reference. For all you that are writing things down, href stands for hypertext reference.
Which is pretty dumb. It should just be like src or like URL or link, but that's what people are into. So
okay,
because I mean you're not necessarily
okay. We're not doing a class on how dumb people are because of how they code things or name things. We're trying to learn how to design a website.
Okay, so here is this href. I'm just going to leave it blank for now, but you can see how it looks like a link, right? And it gives me
correct. Because if you were to press it, it would go to a link page, correct?
Yeah, except right now it won't go anywhere because I don't have it.
Correct.
Anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to add two more called about and services. See that?
Which are very common when you open up a web page.
Right. Now, with CSS here, so you see they're in a list, and they're displayed here, but let's say I want to display them in a horizontal line or something, right? So you'll remember earlier?
Yes, when you went left and right and so forth.
Yes. So the way I would do that is here, this li element. So it's the li, this list, which is in the nav. So nav space li, and you could go float left. So you see now how it floats them like that?
Yes, I did get that, but okay. So nav, you mean you're giving it a command of being a navigation bar, or?
How I call this nav?
Yes.
Class. So it's part of that.
Okay, and then the ally?
Yeah, these are these guys.
Okay, cool.
So you see how each one's its own like block?
Yes.
And then Okay, so that, now, you could do it that way, and then there's this list style none, which would get rid of that dot, and you might go margin, right, 10 pixels to kind of space them apart, right?
Correct.
Or you could do it this way. Another command, display inline, and that'll kind of do the same thing.
Okay, cool.
But it just kind of depends on how you do it. There's different ways. And then here, there's actually this UL by default, if I show it a background, it has some margin on it. So you see here how it's...
You gave it color.
Yeah, I gave it color, but you see here how this should be at the touching here, but it's got a little bit of spacing here. The reason is because this has margin by default. So if I take margin out and padding out, I should see how it... Now, you see that?
Okay, it got closer to the beginning of the...
So a lot of the times with the ULs, you're going to need to remove margin and padding. A lot of times people will just globally at the start of their documents have a big thing like all these different things. They will just do margin 0, padding 0, to where everything is just kind of resets
to the first line. Yes.
And they just start doing it from there. So I don't know if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. In other words, that's the command that is being given to everything. Yeah, that's going to be, so they take it off from the beginning. And then they just add it as needed. Correct.
So, but anyway, so we got that. Now I'm going to want to float this nav. So you'll see here, you have this. So the order and structure of elements somewhat does matter. So you can see here, so you have this div, and then inside of here you have this img, and then this other div.
Correct, because that's the image being divided, right?
Yeah. Now these are the two kind of main things part of this header div. So you got this img, this image here, and you got this div, this nav div. So these two things are two kind of elements, two tags that are next to each other. So if I were to float these would be the two things that I would float, this image tag and this div.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is, if I go up here, let me get rid of, take this out. We don't need that CSS. So if I were to go to a header logo, or sorry, not logo, my bad, img, and I guess let's just use this code up here, header img.
Okay.
Now I'm going to float this left. Now you see how when I do that, it actually makes this come up?
Correct. And if you were to go right, services would appear first, right?
Okay, if I were to if I were to take out this display inline, and if I were to do that, float right, I think that's right. Yeah, so you see that?
Yes.
But let's say I don't want that to happen, but I still want this on the right. So it matters kind of the way I target this stuff. So let me go back to display inline. But so rather than floating the li right, if I just float the nav, so header nav, if I float that to the right, it's going to keep the right order I want. Okay. But see how that's on the right? Does that kind of
Yeah, it kept it on the same.
Yeah. So
because you floated it and kept it the same. Right.
Right, and then here you might want to also put header nav, just because. So you could do it that way. You could also float this to the left, and then maybe I could just give it a little bit of margin to the left so it's not so close to that CNN logo, like 50 pixels. So like that, maybe I could give it some margin on the top, 50 pixels, so it bumps it down a little bit. So, something like that. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, and then maybe actually too, so header nav a. So now I'm going to target this anchor tag, which is the actual link part. I could do like font size 20 pixels, so make it kind of bigger. And then you could go, and there's a lot of things you could do. Let me margin right 10 pixels, so spacey's a little bit more, 20 pixels. You could even make it a little bigger like that. So see these links now. And yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
So now that we got that stylized, let's make these actually go somewhere when you click them, right?
Okay.
So let's in this body here, let's just put in H1 so we know kind of what page we're on. I'm going to call this homepage.
Okay, which is, okay, go ahead.
Right. Now you'll see here already, it's showing up here,
Correct.
which we don't really want.
Okay, so then you want to eliminate that, or?
Okay, so the reason why is because this logo is floated and this navigation is floated, and then it's just bringing it to the next part from here to illustrate that better. Watch. So this, so the header, if I were to give it a background, like if I were to give it just a red background, this one actually doesn't have anything. If I were to go to the logo, sorry, okay, I don't mean logo, I mean image, but that one though. Now the nav, if I give it a background, you'll see it ends here, and this starts here.
Yes.
So there's a few ways to deal with this, but you're probably going to want to you want to make sure this header, since right now you're not even showing anything, it's because it has these two objects that are floated on top of it, this image and this nav div.
Okay. So, but okay, you're kind of going in circles. So we're gonna try to link like homepage to something, correct?
Yeah, but I first gotta fix this issue where this shows up.
Okay, so then by fixing that issue, you would just erase homepage, and that would fix it, wouldn't it?
Because I want this to say homepage, but I want it not to show it here. I want it to show it down here.
Okay, so then you're just gonna.
So I need to bump it down basically. And
correct.
Why? This header doesn't have a width defined to it.
Okay.
If I were to say width 100% now, and then I also need to float it because it has elements that are floated on it already, so that'll fix it.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did make sense, but you were just going around in circles and confusing all of us.
Okay, so now if I give a background to the header, it should also show up now. So
cool.
Yeah. Okay. So you see how this extends all the way to the end, so that's why it bumps this over.
Okay, yeah, because it gave it the.
But there's other ways too. Just to show you. So say I didn't do that. I'm pretty sure now if I were to go body, and if I were to float this left, because this is part of the H1's in this body div, right? If I were to go body, float left, but then I were to give it a width of 100, I believe that would also have bumped it down too.
Okay, so then you're just giving different options.
Yeah, but usually you see float left with 100%. This type of setup you use quite a bit with structural things. So it's not a bad idea to give kind of everything a 100% width and a float left, like this body, this header. I would also do it for it depends, but this footer I would do it for. But
okay.
Anyway, so
I do get it. You're just running around in circles and you're just like saying different things. So stick to one and show us that one item, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I got this. I copied this. I pasted it in here. So now this is the sample.html. Let me go in here. So I'm going to rename this sample to, let's call it home.
Okay.
I'm going to delete these two pages. Okay, so I have home.html. Let me upload that. And then when we pull it up, home.html, that's it, right?
Correct.
Okay, now here's what I want. I want to, when I click here, to go to the About page, here to the Services page. So all this is a page. This home.html is a document. It's a page. So if I take that home.html and I copy it, so in here, if I copy this and I paste it, I now have two pages, right?
Okay, yes.
Okay, and then I want to...
basically the same page.
Yeah, and I just want to change a few things on this. So I want to rename this to About.
Okay, so you're giving it a name for About and for Services.
But I'm using the same code you can see
correct
that we had. But I'm just going to now rename this from this H1,
Yes, you're going to be About, and then the next one you do is going to be for Services.
Yeah, so Services. And then I'm going to put Services here. Now, so I have 3 pages, and you can actually just straight up open these without even uploading them. I'm just
correct.
These from my hard drive.
And if you press Home page, then you're going to go to that page.
don't know.
Well,
Do you know why?
because you're on it right now.
Nope, I'm on about.html.
Correct. Okay. So why?
So the reason why is because I haven't told this link to go anywhere. Remember that?
Okay, so you still have to give it direction.
Yes. So, and the way to do that is within this structure right here. If they're all in the same area, you don't have to put. You know how most of the time I'll put like HTTP demo.ili.
Correct.
You don't always have to do that. If it's a local file, like on your own server, you can just straight up put about.html.
And it's gonna take you to that one.
Yeah, and you can. We'll put the slash there also. So slash services.html, and then slash home.html. So these are what they're called, right?
Okay.
So you see how this is home about services?
Okay.
Now, if I refresh this page, so you'll see it's actually, you'll see here on the bottom left, it shows you where it's going to take you.
Okay.
And this one, it's not going to take me to the right spot because I should be going into this users root documents temp, and it's just trying to take me just to, you see what I mean?
Yes.
So I got to fix that. So I think I don't need that slash actually.
So you're gonna take the slash off.
Yeah, remember how I added that?
Yes.
So it basically starts from the root area, but here we don't want to do that. So if I just leave it like that, right? Now I should, when I refresh this, if I hover over it, you'll see now it looks
you to that. Correct.
Yeah. So now if I were to hit home page, it takes me to the home page, right?
When you go to
But
about.
the problem is this one now doesn't have that code because
So then you have to go and add the about and the services.
So I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it in to these other two documents, services. So I'm going to open this real quick, and I paste it in right here on these three links. Once this okay, so there, I paste it. So see that has it now. I save it, close it, home. I'm going to open it up, paste it in here, and then I'm going to save it, close it, right? So now if I refresh this one takes me to the about, services, about, home. So you see these work.
Correct.
And then I could upload these to the server and they would work also. So do you get it?
I'm getting it little by little. I am getting it step by step.
Okay, so then from I guess next class we'll pick it up again and move forward.
In next class, I guess I will be doing some of the things that you have shown me so far.
Yeah, sure. So did that clear some of it up a little bit now?
Yes, it did.
Good. Okay, cool. Okay, well then we will end it with that today, and next class we will pick it up and start diving into some more stuff. How does that sound?
It sounds great. Next lesson would be lesson 5.
So that's correct. So don't forget to check us out, dbd.net, if you're looking for a website, and iliuniversity.com for more training videos like this, and
peacebeblessed.com for your daily inspiration.
So thanks very much. Bye-bye.